Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Inner Money Flow radio show. We are so excited.
Yes. We always look forward to Wednesdays
Mhm.
because we get to do the radio show.
Yeah, love it. Um so, how are you feeling?
Oh my gosh, I feel like we have so many things going on. We're doing like this live so people can come in and they can ask questions and hang out with us like while we're here. And we are also doing this like streaming it to Facebook, and then we're also streaming it to YouTube because with Riverside you can do all of it. So we're like, okay, let's just add something new every time we do it. We're like, okay, I think we're at the maximum. I don't know if we're going to be doing any more. We don't want to distract ourselves too much. We really want to focus on, like, yes, we want to reach you guys. We want to make it easy for you guys to join us and be with us, but we also want to be connected and really giving you like really solid, actionable um, information, and
Mhm.
help with all of this work, inner
Yeah.
work, law of attraction,
Mhm.
manifestation. So, yeah.
Should we switch sides
Do you
for
want to?
like your glasses or you feel like it's fine?
I think it's okay.
Okay.
This is what we have to deal with.
If you're listening to this on the podcast or the replay, like you don't know what we're talking about, but if you have glasses, sometimes like the lighting, the reflection,
hmm
can be
Yeah,
problematic.
yeah. Well, one thing I do want to do is I think I'm just gonna shift our camera over a little bit. Okay, again, it doesn't make sense if you're listening to audio only.
You can watch the replays on our website or on YouTube as well. If you go to innermoneyflow.com/radio, we have like all the replays at the bottom.
Yes.
Cool. So this week, we're talking about getting your time back and growing your income because we've heard from a lot of people that it feels like if I had more time, I would be able to work on the things that I really enjoy, or I'm spending all of this time, but my income isn't growing. And so we're like, let's address the two of those topics.
hmm Yeah, yeah. We really do believe that you can have both of these,
Mm-hmm.
and you really have to be doing like this work that Sarah and I are going to be sharing in order for this to happen. This is also something that it's probably not going to happen right away, but it will for sure happen. We really do believe, haven't always believed, but we really do believe that you can work less and earn more. But for us, like we're not. It's not all about like earning as much money as possible. People that are really connected, you can actually call what you need into your life, and you might not need money to do that. And so ideally you just have as much money as you need.
Mm-hmm.
You're not taking more than you actually need. And because it is just energy, and so we don't want to take more than we can actually use. And but yes, all of this, we're going to be sharing lots of things, and you're going to be able to kind of implement and see for yourself how this can come together and work as magic for you.
Yeah. So, like Peter was saying, the first step in all of this is belief. And if you truly believe that you create your own reality, that you are creating everything that is in front of you, your lifestyle, your income, your business, everything, then if you can shift your belief to, I have as much time as I need and I have as much money as I need, then you can get there. And so, today, let's talk
Mhm.
about time first,
Yeah.
and then we can dive into money. And if you are watching live, feel free to add any questions. And we will do questions, we'll do affirmations, and we'll do like an experience that you can play with this week. If you want to submit your question, because this week I had a hard time getting questions, I was like, oh my gosh, we don't have questions. We're like, let's start collecting them sooner. You can go to our site, innermoneyflow.com/radio, and we have a question box on there that you can submit your questions for us. But if you're live, that's the cool thing is you can submit it live. Okay, so let's talk about time and getting your time back as a business owner. So for me, when we were building our business, I was spending all of this time on things I thought I had to do or I should do, what everybody else was doing. And when we work on things that are not in our highest good, right? That are not in alignment, that we just feel like we should do, we end up spending a lot of time and a lot of energy. And it's kind of like the longer route to the desire that we have, the outcome that we want. And so part of this work in terms of getting your time back is looking at how many things you're doing because you feel like you should be doing them.
Mhm. Yes, yeah, the should zero is a good one. We talk about a lot about this in our program Inner Money Flow, but yeah, it's like it's basically your mind is going to come up with all these things, and with a lot of those, it's going to feel like it should be doing them. And then you're also going to have things that are on your to-do list, or you would just normally do them, and so they're just almost kind of like automatic. Or other people are doing them. I guess there's kind of a should coming there as well, but maybe you think you want to do those, um, but maybe you don't really want to do those. And this is where we kind of get into like a little bit of like a fine line. But I think that it's important to realize that like our brains, our human brains, we have a left side and a right side. The left side is that's the part that's going to help you come up with a plan. That's going to help you come up with like these are all the things that I need to do to get me to this place. But your right side of the brain is your intuition side, and that's going to help you take all these little detours along the way, little moments of kind of like inspiration and excitement and joy, and it might skip ahead and skip past some of those things that your left brain is thinking like I'm going to do all of these things in this order at this time, yada yada.
But only if you're tapped in will you be able to
Exactly.
take those shortcuts.
Exactly. And that's how you can actually save time. You're actually doing less things
Hmm.
because you don't need to do all of them.
Yeah. A lot of our members in Inner Money Flow will talk about how they all of a sudden have all of this time and they feel guilty because they're not used to having all of this time. So by simply like what we call creating an opportunities list. So instead of a to-do list, create a list of things that you feel like you want to do, you should do. Just create your list like you normally do, but then don't feel like you have to do all of those things on your list, right? Because you might not be drawn to the things that your mind was thinking of, and when you listen to that, you will get your time back. And so this is what's happening in our lives and our members' lives. They're like, I have so much time and I feel like guilty. It feels weird. Like, can it really be this good? And it's like, that is how we're supposed to be living. That's what's
Mhm.
available for all of us humans when we break free from this matrix of like shoulds, of like
Mhm.
doing things that we don't want to be doing just because we see other people doing them, or people. I was talking about this on my podcast. It's like we see other people having success
Mhm.
doing certain things. And so we think that we should do them. But then we start doing them and we're not having success. And we're like, is something wrong with me? Like, am I the problem? Right. But it's like, no, that just wasn't the path for you. Those were not your tasks. And when you're tapped into your intuition, then you can find, hey, I'm really
Mhm.
drawn to this task today. Let me go down that path.
Hearing all of this, it just like I'm thinking of like I'm tapping into like my younger self, and it's like this is making so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how can we be doing all of these things and then not getting the result that we're looking for? How is that this is how that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
All of this.
Well, it makes sense too, like burnout. It's like I just need to do more and more and more in order to be successful. I'm doing all of these things that everybody says I should be doing to feel fulfilled, to increase my income, but like it's not working. So I must be like not doing enough, right? I'm not enough. And so we just add more and more and more. And eventually we burn out. And if we can tap into our inner guidance and use our intuition and trust, then we actually can do less. We're guided to the right task for us. And that is how you get your time back.
Mhm.
Um, what about when you have a lot going on? You have a lot going on in life, and it's like, I want to get my time back, but like my schedule is so busy.
Hmm. Well, I think that I think that this is yeah, this is very relatable. A lot of people busy schedules, doing all the things? Do you need to do all the things? Probably not. Um, do you believe that it's possible? Yes. Okay, then it's available to you. If you don't believe that you can have it, no, you're not going to get it. And then it's just like following the action,
Mm-hmm.
and really kind of being um, aware of what thoughts are coming up that are reinforcing that reality, and what beliefs are also kind of like making that true. And how can you, one, become aware of them, but then two, clear them, replace them, upgrade them. For me, one thing that I've been doing a lot of is I'll take like thoughts and beliefs, and then I'll, especially if they're lower ones and they're limiting me, I'll identify them, and then I'll find the opposite and I'll create an affirmation. That's like my new thing. And it always just like ends up taking it in the opposite direction of where it was the original one was. So if I feel like I don't have enough time, perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now you want to have an affirmation of, I have all the time that I need,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, and using words that really kind of pinpoint and nail exactly, you know, of what the limiting one was doing. Because then it's just going to be even more, it's going to be more meaningful for you. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's really important for you to play with your own kind of language and stuff. Um, yeah, for me, I would look at a lot of affirmations, and some of them would resonate, but most of them kind of wouldn't. And I think that's why I think that different words mean different things to us,
Mm-hmm.
especially in certain stages of our life. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember always using, like, I always have the perfect amount of time. I always have the perfect amount of
hmm
time for my projects, whatever I need to get done. So, going along with that, of just, I have a lot going on, life is crazy. I think another important question to ask yourself is, what do you want? What
mm
do I want? What are my desires? Because if your day is full of things that you really enjoy and are joyful, and you can get into a flow state, it has a different feeling, has a different vibration, and you can be busy and attracting income and attracting what you desire, right? But I think a lot of times we just go through, what everybody else wants from us, what we think we should be doing, filling our
hmm
schedule. And then it's like, oh, like I feel low vibration, or this energy is coming at me, or like I don't like what I did
hmm
by the time the end of the day rolls around. And uh, a great way to kind of pivot that is ask yourself, like, what do I desire? What do I want? What
hmm
do I want to create? And then you can work from that place with your beliefs and your thoughts and what you think is available to you, and really
hmm
rewrite that so that you do end up with this life that you really love, and the right amount of time. And it's cool when you start getting clear on what you desire, like certain things that don't support that, they'll just kind of fall away, right? Like somebody might like cancel an appointment, or like if it's like if you're a mom and you have like kids who need all these things, they'll just like occupy themselves, or something will happen, where you notice you have all of this free time. And at first it might be kind of like, it might be something that like you thought you should do, and it's like all of a sudden you don't have to do it. And then again, like your mind is like, wait, like, is this
hmm
bad? Like, should I fill my time with something else? And again, that's where that awareness to be like, hey, you asked for this, like use this to do and create what you really
hmm
desire.
hmm Yeah, there's there's a lot of checking in with yourself when you're doing this work, and I, for me, I feel like the foundation of all of it is it's the intention. It's like what Sarah was talking. It's like, what do you want? How does that feel? What does that look like? And then it's like always checking in with yourself. And yeah, it can be a lot, because I feel like when you first start
That
doing this
ends up
work,
being your work.
all of the thoughts, all the beliefs, and it's like, especially if you're just like really ready to move on from whatever reality you're in, which I think is a lot of us. I think we're drawn to this work, and for that reason.
Like when we
And
want
so,
to get out of a certain
yeah, we
situation.
want to make more money. We want to, move out of like this living situation,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm in. Get out of a relationship, get into a
Job, get out of a
relationship.
job,
Yeah, it's like it's something career related,
want our kids to grow up so we have more
Yeah,
time.
it could be exactly. It could be family related as
Mm-hmm.
well. And Yeah, I think that it's like there's like this like urgency, but it's like that's also um watching for the attachment to that as well, and the expectations, and trying to kind of like release some of that as well.
Well,
All these, yeah.
well, what you're saying about like the urgency, that also then becomes your work. Is can you relax into it? Can you
Mhm.
be in the moment? Can you accept it? Can you love it? Can you find the joy in it? Because once we do, then we can release the attachment and move on from it. And so
Mhm.
a lot of times the things that, drive us crazy, we're like, I want to get out of this situation. It's like, what is the situation teaching me?
Mm.
What is there to learn from this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like there's a lot of like taking responsibility for your life in this work, which, maybe you're starting to kind of like get some of that, and
I mean,
it's very humbling, this work.
we always talk about how, so we do Inner Money Flow, and we always talk about how our members in the program are so open to this, like taking responsibility pretty much, and like shining a light on themselves and have such strong awareness. And yeah, it can be a lot, but I think if you're drawn to this work, you're probably pretty open and ready to make changes. And like to change the outer world, we got to go within first. We have to work on our inner world in
Hmm.
order for it to reflect our outer world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the reason why we've kind of end up um in whatever situation we're in. Uh, and this is kind of like relating back to the topic of like getting your time back and working less. Like you've filled up all of your time because you've been so much in this like external physical world of yours. And like when you switch that, and then now you're operating from the inside, and now you're affecting the outer world from deep within you and what you want at your core, everything just kind of starts to come into alignment. But things can't really change until you are ready for them. And a lot of that has to do with lessons. And you have to be able to understand why you've had certain experiences in order to move on from them. Otherwise, they'll continue to keep coming back. It's why we see a lot of the patterns
Mm-hmm.
in our life, our jobs, our relationships. If they keep coming back over and over again, it's because you have something to learn around that. And again, coming back is taking responsibility for that. It's like not making this like not taking it too personally. We are all working on this stuff, and like we're all so unique,
Mm-hmm.
so like we're all have things that we're working through, and we get to grow from them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, work through these experiences, and if you notice patterns, like from a loving place, from a curious place rather than a judgmental place, because we all have things that we're here to learn. And some of us, myself included, can be kind of stubborn, and it's like, oh, let me just like dodge this, like this isn't me, I don't need to work on this. And so yeah, just be kind to yourself while you do this work.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. So good.
yeah.
Mm. Another thing is, you know, we talk about inner work and law of attraction for business growth. And the thing that I noticed with this work is the the work that I was doing, like I was so used to in our business, like sending emails and being on Zoom calls and coaching calls and, posting on social media and talking to our team and all of that. When I learned about these universal laws and how they all work, the work that I ended up doing was internal. It was less taking actions and going outside of myself, but more so looking at, what do I desire? What beliefs do I have? What thoughts are kind of navigating and steering the ship in my life? What do I need to redirect? How do I get in touch with my higher self and my soul, right? And just how have I been spending my time? How do I want to be spending my time, right? So that might be where you are too, where you're so used to doing and you need to slow down and start going within
Hmm.
to then get your time back.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it can be a big shift for those who are doers because it's like, hey, we got to slow down. We got to
Yeah.
tap in.
Yeah. So would you say that there is some time that you have to spend up front in order to get the time back?
Yeah.
It's like kind of like an investment almost.
Yeah, for sure. Um, but it's when you're ready, it's really joyful. And we were talking about this last night, me and Peter, about how when we started doing this work, we had like our own intensive. We were just diving into it. We were at home for 6 months, going nowhere, doing this work. And I was coming to it from a place of burnout, from a place of fear. I was kind of dealing with a lot of like the medical um, field, and just, yeah, it was like it felt very fearful, scary, dark. And so doing this inner work was a ray of light, it was hopeful. um, it started to help me make sense of why things had been happening in my life. And so, yeah, like you do have to spend the time, but you can shift the time. Like if your to-do list is a mile long, you can shrink that to-do list, in half, and then spend that other time going internally and doing this work that we talk about in Inner Money Flow.
Hmm. Yeah.
In the long run, it saves you time, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing that comes out of all of this is that I think realizing that if you have really big goals and big dreams for your life, what your brain might tell you could take 2 to 3 to 5 years, like that 5 year plan, for example, if you're really in the flow, you could do that in way shorter because you're tapping into your unlimited self. Now you can only go as fast as you're willing to grow and learn, right? And so all that takes some time for us to kind of like get used to that process, but ultimately we can get where we want to go almost as fast as we allow ourselves to.
Yeah, get ourselves out of the way,
Yeah.
check in with our beliefs.
Yeah. So if you're like starting to do this work and say you're joining our program and you're watching and you're learning all this stuff and you're coming to our calls and you're kind of like spending a lot of time engaged in this work in particular, and you're spending like, yeah, all this time every week that you wouldn't normally be spending. And so maybe in the very, very short term, it seems like you're taking on a lot, but like over the long term, I mean, it's like, it will blow you away how much time it's going to save for
Mm-hmm.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's more joyful, it's easier. Like just business becomes just like an extension of you, and you know what to do, what to work on. Peter was talking about, when you're in the flow, things can happen a lot faster. So we often talk about the flow state, and that is when you're working and you're just like on a roll. Time is just flying by, like you don't even realize it. You don't really need breaks. Like projects get done so much faster. Yesterday, we were definitely in the flow state. We had like all of these things that we wanted to get done, and at the beginning of the day, Peter was like, I don't think we can get all of these done. Like I just like don't think it's going to happen, and then we came together and we were able to get all of them
Yeah.
done like with time to spare.
Yeah. I said that like first thing in the morning. Sarah kind of came at me with all these things that she kind
Came
of
at
had
came at you.
came at me.
Remember,
That's how I perceived it.
he's creating his reality.
Yeah. And I was just like not feeling like I wasn't ready for like my whole day to be, planned. And but once I kind of got started in my day, I started to just kind of like, I guess, just get more into that flow state. And then I started thinking less about the list of things to get done and was just kind of like open to just moving at the speed that was just felt the best,
Hmm.
And that's exactly what we're talking about, like in this episode in particular, and that you can start to use in your own life.
Yeah, one thing that you can try on is if you do have like a big to-do list, a big day ahead of you, you might think, there's so many narratives about how to be productive where it's like, I don't know if you've heard like eat the frog, do the hardest thing first, or do the easiest thing first. So then it just motivates you to get started. And what I've really found is like do the thing you're the most excited about. And that's what I did yesterday. The thing that I was like, oh, this feels the most joyful to me. This feels like something I could just tap into. And then that started my flow state.
Yeah, there is something to be said for the things that seem very hard and difficult and they're going to take a lot of energy. You might not want to do those right away. You might want to kind of put those off, and it's okay if your mind is saying, "Oh, you're procrastinating. Don't be a procrastinator." And like that's okay that your mind is saying that because your mind says mostly untrue things anyways. And so that would just be another one. But for me, that's what would come up is there's this hard thing, and normally, like Sarah was saying, eat the frog, do it first, and now I'm like, I've got this hard thing, and I'm gonna do it when it feels like it's gonna be easy, or when I'm all of a sudden, now I'm like feeling called to do it, even though this thing that I feel like I've been putting off on doing, and then you do it, and it happens so easily and effortlessly, and then you're just like you're so surprised.
Mm-hmm.
But that was probably the perfect time for you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's that resistance was not coming from your mind. It was probably coming from your higher self
Mm-hmm.
because there's timing, there is a process to all of this in an order that your mind doesn't know or can even understand.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times it's like the mind is like, oh, that doesn't make sense. I can't, like, how could this be? You know, and with a lot of the work that we're doing, that's what comes up. It's like, how can it be that clients are coming to me and I'm not marketing myself? And it's like, it's because you have tapped into your higher self. You've created the reality that you want. Like, you want to be able to share your gifts and be in a flow state and be in joy and have clients come to you. So if you believe that that's possible, that is exactly the reality that you're going to create. If you don't believe it's possible, then that is exactly the reality that you're going to create.
Yeah. It's like it's shocking how true this is for like everything in your life. Like your beliefs really those are kind of in control, but really it's limiting what's possible for you is really what's happening, you know, because everything is possible. You're just at some level in your being choosing to limit yourself, probably because most people in our society are ding ding ding, right? You know, it's like this is like a very normal thing, you know, to be have all these leaves and make all these stories and are they're all holding us back,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and there's this kind of spiritual approach really cuts through a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of there's a lot of services that you can buy nowadays that will kind of help each of these little departments, but it will only go so far. You know, like the spiritual work goes to like the highest levels of existence and it taps into how the universe actually works.
And it works for everybody, which I love.
It's universal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shall we talk about growing income?
Growing income.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the other part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Working less, earning
Mm-hmm.
more.
Because you don't
Yes.
have, it doesn't have to be one or the other. And I
I
think,
almost kind of felt like these were two different topics.
yeah, they kept coming up together where it's like, if I work less, I make less money. Right? That was like kind of like the belief that we were hearing in Inner Money Flow. And let us know like if you have another belief that comes with like working less, increasing your income. But they could definitely be two topics for sure. But we're putting them in one show today. That is today's episode. And so when it comes to growing your income, the big thing that we've been helping our Inner Money Flow students with has been opening up to the possibilities in terms of we work with a lot of coaches, you know, entrepreneurs who have been doing this for a long time, really trying to find their path, their groove, like what they're offering. Maybe they have one program and they're really attached to all of the income coming from this one program and this one offering. And so really opening up the dialogue and, you know, me asking you this question, like, would you be okay if income came into your business through a different form? If you have a program, if you have an offering, like, would you be okay with money coming in from a different way? So, you know, it could look like, I mean, I don't want to limit what it could look like, but, you know, it could be checks in the mail. It could be somebody you meet at the grocery store asking for your services. It could be speaking, like it could literally be anything. But would you be open to money coming in from more ways than just that one offer that you have?
Yes. The answer is yes. That's what you're thinking, right? Yeah.
Most of you would probably say yes, right? And the reason that that is powerful is because when we are so attached to it coming in a certain way, it limits us. It limits the universe for providing
Hmm.
that money.
Yeah. It's also, yeah, kind of like that's with like visualization too. We can kind of limit ourselves to this vision that we've created for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us are familiar with vision board, and it's a very specific form that you're putting on a vision board. And in Inner Money Flow, we really teach to focus more on the essence of what you want to create.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that allows you to kind of like get out of that attachment, and you're not so kind of narrowly focused on um, it coming in one way.
Yeah. So maybe we should talk about like what we mean when we say essence, right? In case they're
Oh,
not
did I just
familiar.
open up the door?
Do you not want to talk about
No,
that?
that's fine.
Feel like, are you getting
That's
hot?
fine. No, no.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. Well, yeah, do you want me to talk about it,
No,
or do
I
you
can
want
talk
to talk
about it.
about the
Yeah.
essence?
Yeah, I just think that I think it can be really helpful. So if you are a yoga teacher, and you're like, okay, like I want to work at this yoga studio. Like this is like my dream yoga studio. I really want to work here. I want to get this job, but at the core, what you really want is like you want to empower people to move their bodies in a way that feels good, and you want to be compensated for that, right? So focusing on the essence of helping people move their bodies and you being compensated for that, right? Money coming in, because then, you could run into somebody who's like, hey, I'm doing this event and like I need somebody to teach here, right? And it's all about empowerment and flexibility, and it pays more than that job paid. And then that leads to your next connection. That would be one example of like essence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically, it's like you want to focus on, yeah, what does it it's like, yes, what does it look like? But it's more like, what can it look like? But really, it's like, what does that feel like? I feel like that works. That is
Mm,
very applicable to a lot of people, because some people are not. They don't see themselves as being skilled in visualizing
yeah.
exactly what they want to call in. They have trouble with that, and then they feel like it holds them back. And so then this is where the essence kind of comes in. But it's focusing on feeling, and how does that feel to have what you want. And it's like, um, and sometimes it's helpful to think about the things that you don't want, kind of like use
Mm,
whatever tools are at your and thoughts to kind of help you narrow into, this is what I want to create, and really kind of spend some time with it. And this is something where it's like, you don't just do it once.
mm-hmm,
I mean, this is really like, this is part of the work, and
mm-hmm.
you're really kind of exploring that. Um, every week we have these group sessions for Inner Money Flow, and we're always helping people kind of like work through and narrow down their visions, and hearing the, things kind of coming out, and we can kind of help them get back into their flow, but mostly through, I think, just like pointing out the things that they need pointed out.
Mm.
Um, and so yeah, that coming back, this is what we mean by the essence. This is why it's important, coming back to attachment, releasing attachment to how much money you can make, where your money is going to be coming
Yeah.
from. But this is also, it's like we're saying, grow your income. But this is when being focused on income is also an attachment to the method in which you're receiving energy into your life. So if
So,
all you really want is housing, focus on the essence of housing,
yeah.
like don't focus on the money to get housing, because you can actually really open it up a lot bigger when you don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, is like going back to what do you desire, So the reason that we titled this income is because so many people are like, oh, I need more money. I need to increase the income in my business. But you could get exactly what you want without it coming from actual money. Like Peter was saying, housing, you get housing, you're going on vacation, you could win a vacation. It's like, again, as humans, we limit ourselves so much. And it's kind of taught in business too, where it's like, okay, how much money do you want to make? Okay, what are your offers? Okay, how many offers do you need to sell in order to get this? Like, I've seen so many posts where it's like, you want $10,000 a month, you want $20,000 a month, you want to make $1 million, here's how you do it. And it's so logical, and our mind likes logical. So it's like, okay, cool, let me do that. But we also have the spiritual side where we can get exactly what we want when we're clear on what we want and we open up to the possibilities. We open up to every avenue that's available to us.
Yeah. Yeah, the mind really loves those explorations of like, here's exactly what you're gonna get, and here's exactly what you're gonna do.
Feels
And it,
safe.
oh
It makes
yeah,
sense to our
yeah, yeah,
minds.
yeah. But how many programs, or methods have you tried where it's like they tell you exactly what to do, and either you just don't follow through on it or you do, and then you don't get what you were looking for at the end.
Hmm.
You were following somebody else's process, and it just doesn't work like that, it's probably for the best, if everything was so straightforward, why would we have to do anything? We
It
would
would
just
be,
be like robots, basically,
yeah, it would be
like,
boring. There wouldn't be a lot of growth.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there wouldn't
And
be a lot of
so,
lessons learned.
yeah, I think we've just ended up in this spot because a lot people's minds in today's society, that's just how the mind is conditioned. That is the preference because that's what everybody is talking about and seems to really value, and that perceived value is this is you being and listening to us on this episode right now. This is the beginning of that change. We're not the first ones, by the way, but like we are. Yeah, I mean, this is still kind of like part of the beginning. So
I'm seeing it like more people waking up and being like, oh, I'm the creator. I'm the boss of my life, like I'm responsible for it. I don't want to follow somebody else's plan. I've done that. That doesn't feel good. It's like I've seen this. I've seen it broken down. I've tried it. It didn't work for me. Like let me go within and let me see what the answers are for myself, which I'm excited about. That's like what I'm looking forward to. Like everybody waking up and being on their own path and creating exactly what they want and abundance for everybody all around.
yeah, one
That,
thing, yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one thing that's going to be kind of interesting is like you listening, imagining yourself doing this work, and then thinking about other people in your life, you know, their response to you doing this work. I feel like this came up a little bit yesterday on our group session, and I think that's a real objection, for a lot of people, for a lot of listeners, a lot of people that are um, considering doing this work, and this is just a little bit of resistance that comes up, a little bit of fear of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be changing because we were just talking about, hey, like this is new. Well, when you're changing and now you're doing things different, your friends and your family might be thinking, oh my gosh, this is like, what's going on? What's happened to you? This is, and like that's just like part of like the detachment, being okay. If you want to have more of everything, if you want to have more time and more money and all, you're going to have to do things differently, you know. But the beauty is when you change and you kind of do this work, it shows other people in your life and those that come uh, across you that you interact with, or that they see what's possible, like as well,
Mhm.
and so you actually have this really huge effect. So um, I don't know why I decided to mention this, but somebody listening to this right now, you know, you're welcome. Okay, that's where it came from.
Happy
So,
to share your gifts, right? Another thing with the income, like growing the income, calling in more money, calling in any of your desires, part of it and what can be the most challenging based on what Peter was just saying can be holding the frequency or vibration of what you desire. Because a lot of times it's like, oh, I'm doing this work, I'm doing the inner work, I'm visualizing, I'm creating my future, and then somebody comes into your life and they want to tell you something negative, something about the world that's happening, something that's possible or not possible, right? For you, oh, you could never do that, this is what's happening, right? And it's their reality. And so then what can happen, doesn't have to happen, but what can happen is you drop your frequency and your energy and you start, if you let your mind, if you haven't done this work, you can have your mind start telling you things like, hey, like, yeah, like, what were you thinking? Like, don't start this new project. Don't start this podcast. Don't do that. Right. And then we lower our vibration. And then it's like, wait, why am I not making more money in my business? And it's like, well, you're no longer at that vibration of, hey, I'm awesome. I'm here to share my gifts with the world. My podcast is going to be amazing, right? You've lowered into the fear frequency. And so, again, it's like, okay, what can you do to raise your frequency back up? And remember, you are a powerful creator and you can have a successful podcast or fill in the blank with whatever you desire.
I love it.
It's good, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Okay, so keeping your frequency, your vibration up, that's really important in terms of money. If you want more money, those things. And then another thing that is huge is also going to be to take inspired action, right? So we talked about the joy or the opportunities list. We talked about picking the thing that you feel most called to. Another thing that we want to share with you is be open to taking actions that don't make sense to your logical mind, right? So you might have this download to go for a walk or call somebody or take the day off. And our logical mind wants to say, how can you take the day off? You're working on this new income goal. Like you got to work, you got to do all these things. Really trusting that you're getting that message for a reason and acting on it. And then pay attention to what happens, because what I found in my experience is when I act on those, then I get closer to my goal or something amazing happens. And now, like, I don't want to not act on those. Anytime I get like this nudge from my higher self to call somebody, to take a break, to stop working on something, not to send an email, when I do that, it turns out in my favor. I get exactly what I'm wanting, right? But at the beginning, I had a hard time being like, oh no, I should work. I didn't do this for most of my life, honestly. I didn't tap into that.
Yes, we like to say doing this is moving from force to flow. Yes.
Yay.
Inspired action.
Okay, I feel like Peter, you're fading. Are you fading?
No,
You're
no,
good?
but I felt like I had kind of said what I wanted to with
Okay.
like we were talking about earlier, talking about like the left brain and the right brain, and you got your to-do list. And I think that you had a good point though in bringing this up and saying that if you feel like doing something totally unrelated
Mm-hmm.
to whatever you feel like your objective is and what you're working toward, you should do that. You're
Yeah.
supposed to take a break. There's a reason,
Yeah.
it's probably a timing thing.
I feel like you've been always kind of good at this. Do you feel like it
I
or
feel
not
like I've
really?
definitely gotten better.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
definitely think like there's room for improvement, but I feel like I had a longer way to go. Like, and I think part of it was a belief that I carried that I had to work hard and I had to make things happen. So for me, really shifting to my being can attract exactly what I want. And when I'm in a state of joy and flow, opportunities come my way. Like when I shifted to those beliefs, it was a lot easier for me to relax and not feel like I had to finish everything on my list before I took a break. Okay,
Yeah.
now we're going to switch it up and talk about inner money flow for a second. If you are new to this,
Yes. Talking about inner money flow. I was gonna put a little. Yes.
okay.
Yeah, I was. We're. Yeah, I was like gonna do this. Play like some little music here. There's like a little bit of a pause there. Nothing got interrupted, but we're trying some of this like new fancy technology. Um, I clicked on this cheering thing. It's like,
I hope it doesn't just like
yay!
start
Inner
playing
money
like
flow.
crazy,
No,
but
no, I don't think it will because I clicked like the pause button.
that's the thing about doing a live show is like when you listen to the podcast, people can like cut it out and make it
Hmm.
all perfect, but when you do a live show, it can be kind of crazy and wild.
Yeah,
But
that's what we're here for. We're here for the crazy and the wild.
well, and
It's an
also,
adventure.
well, also like the real experience, like
Hmm.
this is like real life, this is reality.
Yeah,
And if somebody's listening and they want to start something, like start it. Don't feel like it has to be perfect from day one because you'll never start if you have that mentality.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, inner money flow. What do you want to say about it?
Well,
We
it's
talk about it
it's
so
yeah. So Inner
much.
Money Flow is an actual program. That's what the Inner Money Flow radio show is based off of. And so yeah, like we started with the program, but then we decided hey, people need to hear about some of this work that we're doing. Like a lot of our members that are in there and we're kind of meeting with every week. We're doing new trainings every week. And just like engaging with in the community, it's like everybody has come such a long way. We just launched this program. It's been 3 months that this program has been open. And I'd say like within like a month and a half, people started getting results from it. And now that we've gone like 3 months, it's really, really, I think it's just like exciting for us to see how fast that this stuff can happen. And a lot of people in our program, it's just been very effortless too. You know, they find time to do this work and it's like, it's, the timing is always just like perfectly for them. And so yes, this is um, Inner Money Flow. This is the program that all of this work that we're talking about. It is part of a program.
There's
There's
structure.
structure to it. You have access to Sarah and I. We have trainings and we have group sessions and
The thing that I want to say about it, it's like Peter was saying, yeah, Sean's like, wait, just 3 months? It's been so good. Yeah, the thing that I've noticed, we've created a lot of programs, and the one thing with this one is every single person it works for. If you are committed to this work and doing it, it will work for you. And that is really cool because, like we were saying earlier, there's some programs where you will do them and you won't get the result. And that's because it wasn't the path for you. It was this specific structure, and that wasn't for you. Where this is inner work, tapping into your higher self, your inner guidance, and following your joy. And so it can't not work, which has been really cool. And I had an opportunity this week where I talked to business owners and I talked to them before I was talking to our Inner Money Flow students. And it was like a really, really big aha moment for me. Like seeing how frantic business owners who aren't doing this work were, and just like all the things they thought they had to do, and just kind of like looking at me like with big eyes, like a deer in headlights, like I'm doing everything and like I'm just stressed and like I don't know what to do. Will this work for me? And then getting on a call with everybody from Inner Money Flow, and it's like everything is falling into place. I finally figured out what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to be on social media. My business is growing. I'm not marketing myself. It feels so good. I just want to be in this joyful state all the time. I was like, whoa, this is wild.
yeah,
Wild.
such a big contrast.
So big.
Yeah.
So huge. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing in Inner Money Flow. I'm really excited. We're launching a new spirit path. So these are like a 12-week roadmap. And we have one for burnout and the constant need to do. And we're launching one on Monday for fear, doubt, and overwhelm. So if you struggle with those, this will guide you through trainings and group sessions and meditations. And there's some extra like bonuses in there that will help you release like the doubt and the fear and overwhelm that may be keeping you stuck. This isn't a membership program. I know we call our people members. It is not a membership program, but it does come with lifetime access, which is really cool.
Yeah, I guess we could be calling them customers, but we've never
No,
really,
I
yeah,
think of them as like my friends doing this work
for
with
sure.
me. And that's another thing is like Peter and I are doing this work too. And over the years, the programs that
Mhm,
have been the most successful that we've created have been ones where we're doing the work too. We're
mhm.
growing with you, we're figuring this out along the way too. So it's been really fun. We really enjoy it. So if you want to get your time back and increase your joy, definitely check it out. It's just innermoneyflow.com. You can see the program. You can apply to work
Mhm,
with us. We have two options on the page now because we did open up some
mhm.
one-on-one coaching. But if you just want the main program, it's on that page on the left.
Yes.
Okay, anybody live have questions about getting your time back or your income? Anything that we've talked about that you want to ask us? We can talk about those now. Any questions that you have, we will answer them. So, one question that came through was, How do I make time for what I really want to be working on? How do I make time for what I really want to be working on? I feel like it's like everything we talked about.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, the question comes perfectly, like as we've like addressed
Maybe we
all of
should
it.
maybe we should start doing questions at the beginning.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because then it's like the whole thing is answering the question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
So,
working through this.
yeah.
Because I
So,
feel like this person probably is like, oh, you guys answered this already, you know?
yeah. Okay, like I will say like we can all make a little bit of time for the things that are really important to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's always things that we're doing that are not very fulfilling in our life. We can always create a little bit of time each week, maybe not every single day, but we can all do that. We can all create a little bit of space because that's the thing too. If you don't create space in your life, then you don't have any room for new stuff to be showing up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like this is kind of an old concept. I feel like we talked about that or worked through that. I don't know where that came from, but it does make a lot of sense, you know, and like if you want to be spending more of your time doing this stuff, you have to spend less of your time doing other things. And why not just get rid of the things that just don't really mean that much to you?
Mm-hmm. Taking inventory of like where you're spending time, like on your list, you can see like which of these things am I working on that aren't as important. And for me, I've kind of noticed this pattern where sometimes like I'll have this thing that I want to be working on and they'll I won't be doing it each day. And then there'll come a point where it's like, okay, enough is enough. Like I am going to prioritize this tomorrow and then I'm able to do it. You know, so sometimes it needs to not happen a few times for you to get to that point where it's like, oh, actually, this is really important to me. I'm going to make it happen. Now, the flip side of this, and this is where trusting your intuition, right? And get really like taking those inspired actions is sometimes you haven't been able to do that because it wasn't the right time for you, right? You haven't learned a lesson you need to learn. Maybe you had too much on your plate, you know, like when we're recording this, spring break is happening. So it's really easy for the mind to be like, hey, you said you're going to do this. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? And it's like, hello, like I'm amazing. It's spring break. I'm hanging out with my friends, but I'm going to get to it when the time comes, you know, and releasing
Mhm.
that limiting belief that like you're not good enough, you're not doing what you say you want to do. I think that that can also come into play as well. It's
Mhm.
like we don't want to make you wrong. We don't want to make you feel bad about the things. We don't want us, anybody, to feel bad about the things that they're not able to do, but we do want to be in integrity. If you say you want to do something, but then you're doing all, you're like, hey, I really want to write a book, but then every night you're watching Netflix, it's like, probably need to shift that around a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. We've definitely been watching less shows that are just like not in alignment with ourselves. It's like an easy one to get rid of because I think a lot of us watch shows, you know, on a pretty regular basis.
We'll
So,
like start a Netflix show. I'm like, nope, can't do it. Too violent, too much, you know. I'm feeling it in my body. I don't like it. Don't
hmm
like this feeling. And now even with books, it's crazy. I picked up a new novel and I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, this is like so low vibrational. Like I can't read this, you know. So again, that's also the way of the universe helping you make time for what you really desire.
hmm
Good
yes.
on questions.
Was there another one? Did you want to read another one?
I'm open.
I don't know. I feel like yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably good for this episode. That way we can move it along. We've almost been at an hour.
He's keeping his eye on the time. The time
Yeah,
isn't
yeah, we don't want to
real.
go.
The
Yeah,
time isn't real,
yeah.
Peter.
We got to keep our energy high though, and Peter's energy. You know.
I know, I picked up on that. I was like, okay, cool, let's move it along. Okay, why don't I read the affirmation?
Oh yes,
Okay.
let's do it.
The affirmation this week is I'm creating an ever, nope, we're going to start over. I'm creating an even better outcome than my mind thinks is possible. I'm creating an even better outcome than my mind thinks is possible. Play with that, see if it resonates with you. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Do you want to share the experience to play with this week?
Okay, I'm gonna share the experience that we're doing. Okay, so this week, before taking action, check in with your higher self and see if that action is the best one for you to take or if you should hold off until another time. It's a very simple exercise connecting with your higher self. If what if they're like, okay, what do you mean by higher self? This is new to me. What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would check in. I would get quiet and just see what comes through. I feel like for me,
Mhm.
tapping into my higher self when I was just getting started, it was really sitting in a quiet place and going into my heart. So, going into my heart out of my mind, my energy would be up in my head, my logical brain. So, I would kind of clear my thoughts, however you want to do that, go into my heart and see, hey, what should I take action on this or not? Also, feeling like I feel when I'm tapped in to my higher self and I'm supposed to be taking action, it feels open. My heart feels open, my body feels open versus kind of closed off, and some resistance there.
Mhm. Yeah, and try not to judge whatever comes up,
Mm-hmm.
whatever action you're supposed to be taking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really easy for your mind to kind of dismiss, things that are coming from within because they're not actually coming from your mind. They might be coming through your mind, but as they do, the mind might not recognize it as being something that it created. And so it can kind of create some resistance around that.
And remember, you can't do this wrong. Like you have
Yeah.
by wanting to tap into your higher self, you have so much awareness there and like your higher self, it wants you to be successful. So it wants to help you, it wants to support you. So, it's easy to be like, "Oh, am I doing this right?" Overthinking like, "Should I take action? Shouldn't I take action?" Part of this is just trusting. Like, can you
Hmm.
trust that you are always on the right track? That's it for today, guys.
That's
Thanks
it.
for hanging out with us. We will be doing this again next week.
Hmm.
So this happens live every single Wednesday. Um, Inner Money Flow question, please come over, submit it. It can be about any of this inner work. We're going to be doing a lot of different topics every single week from here on out. And our intention is just to help people do more of what they enjoy and raise the consciousness, and show an easier way to be doing business through this inner work, this spiritual work.
Have you mentioned questions, like how they can submit questions? Have we talked about that? If you want to have us answer your question, go to innermoneyflow.com/radio, and we're going to have a questions area that you can submit your question.
Yeah, if we missed any of your question, you do there. And then also, if you are in the program, Shauna, I see you. You guys can put your questions like in the community support, and we're happy to answer, obviously, member questions. We did the best group session yesterday in Inner Money Flow. It was so good. Like,
Yeah, it was really
it
good.
literally made my week, by the
Yeah.
way. It was all about, for those of you listening who haven't joined us yet, it was all about future self and future self vision and sending images of success and just sending images to each other of what it is we're creating and calling in and stepping into. And I just felt such love and positive energy yesterday.
Yeah, it's really powerful. Yeah, I feel like the results that we've already been getting, I just feel like we're going to be amplifying them with these new energy techniques that we're starting to infuse into the program. So,
Yay!
yes,
More soon.
yes, more soon. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye, friend.